before even freshman year. But when I started playing my freshman year of college basketball, it was more, I think one of the biggest sacrifices was being away from home, like playing college basketball, because this seemed like the best decision for me to play it. It never crossed my mind to just stop showing up and just stop. Because I think that's an easy thing to do, right? Like, you know, for me, what it means to be a student athlete is you're a good player. Obviously, you got success now is seeing others around me succeed. And so what that kind of means is, you know, whether that's a student athlete that I've, you know, been in contact with and been
Massive thanks. Welcome to the Career Clarity with Athletes podcast. It's good to have you join me. My evening must be, I don't know, day, afternoon. Well, I have no idea where we are.
My morning.
Your morning?
Yeah, 7 a.m. North Carolina time, yeah.
Love it. Bright and early. So thanks for joining me at the start of yours, end of mine. I always say I'm looking forward to the conversations. And you know what? It's because I am. I really am. I like sort of your background, your transition, you know, basketball, administration, and really giving back. And so I think your story's good. You've probably got a lot to give. And we'll probably only just delve. We're going to delve as much as we can in this short amount of time. But really want to say thanks for coming on. And, you know, it's going to be a good chat.
I'm excited, Ryan. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it, the opportunity to get to talk to you.
Awesome. Now, look, I know we were chatting just before we went on air. You know, we've had a couple of conversations, but we were talking about, I guess, half marathons, and you've just done your third half marathon as we're talking now. In fact, by the time this is published, it might have been 4 or 5.
Oh my gosh. Now you're putting it out there. That's a little pressure for me. I just completed my third half marathon back home in Chicago, and it was kind of like, oh, do I want to sign up for one in the summer? Like it's pretty hot, but I just figured, you know, it's early enough in the morning. Hopefully, it'll be good, and I've done majority of my training down here in North Carolina, so I figured I'd have an advantage, and I wound up PRing and shaving off 6 minutes from my previous time. So.
Yeah, listen, I'm just in awe because I've done 2 half marathons, probably, but about maybe 16 years apart when I did them, and they were not the most enjoyable thing I've ever done by any stretch of the imagination. So the fact you've done 3, you've done your PR, clearly getting faster. And yeah, just to put it out there in public, maybe now tempted to do a marathon as well.
You know what? That's definitely in the cards for my future. I just have to figure out when is the right time. But you're right. I can do it. And I think I just need proper training time to be able to knock that out.
Awesome. Well, look, Kayla, we may well come back to your athletic exploits in terms of what you are doing and how you're pushing yourself, because I think that is quite simply part of your DNA. I'd love to just, you know, for everyone who's listening, for everyone who's watching, just tell us a bit about yourself and what you're up to nowadays.
Yeah, so I'm living in North Carolina, a town called Wilson, which is kind of 50 minutes or so east of Raleigh. And I'm working at my alma mater, actually. It's called Barton College. And so it's a Division II school. And I played basketball for 2 years at this school. I graduated in 2023, and now I work in our athletic department. My title is Athletic Operations Coordinator. And so my duties kind of change on the day-to-day. In our department, it's small enough to where no one wears just one hat. You wear multiple hats. Yeah. And I enjoy that piece. Sometimes it can be, you know, you get a lot put on you some days, and then other days you have other just specific areas to focus on. But all in all, it's very rewarding. And I believe that I'm learning so much every day.
I mean, so when you think then of that title, and you do all the, sounds like it's quite a varied job. It changes, as you said, on a daily basis. What are perhaps the top two or three things you enjoy most about what you do at your role?
Definitely. Interacting with the people at Barton. So the student athletes, it's just so great to be able to see them every day, and I hope that I'm making a difference in their lives and impacting them in a positive way. That's one of the reasons why I really wanted this job, was to come back to not only my alma mater, but to work with these 18 to 22-year olds,
Yeah,
and help them get on the right path for their lives, or keep them on the right path. And another part is to be able to engage with my coworkers and see them every day, and the community. It's the best part of the job for sure.
yeah. Oh, that's good. Well, so you talk about going back to the college where I guess where you played. You got to spend a couple of years there. I'm always interested because look, this is about finding that clarity in your career. For you, to me, you've only just graduated, right? So you're still kind of in that early transition phase of this fight, finding your second wind in many respects. But before we sort of tackle those aspects, let's just get a bit of a background. So you said your hometown, Chicago. What drew you to basketball, or how did you actually get into sport in the first place?
Yeah, so I've been playing basketball since I was about 4 years old, and so my parents would just sign me up, like any parent. They signed me up for all the different sports, and so when I was growing up, I played soccer, but football for you guys. I
Thank you.
played softball when I was younger, and basketball. I even played one season of flag football. Actually, I was in fifth grade, but that was interesting. Um, and so, but basketball always stuck with me, and I went on to keep playing in middle school, and then I played for our feeder team, which feeds into the high school. Played in high school, and then wound up playing it at a junior college in North Dakota, a town called Devil's Lake. So
So
the
what was the
school was
town called?
called
What was this town?
the town was called Devil's Lake.
Okay, all right.
An interesting name, right?
Yes, it is. It is. Okay, all right.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Everyone's googling now exactly what that is, and I'm going to be doing
you
that.
got to Google it.
Yeah, I will be. That's it. Key action for everybody.
It's a small town, but great people. I'll tell you that. It it really helped me grow as a person. Living away from home, and it was just a great experience. Great people there.
So what made you go there? I suppose there's probably this little connection here, which is when you were playing sport, when you're doing basketball, then as a youngster, for you then, where did you want to go? What were your aspirations as a player?
So when I was about 13, that's kind of when I got really serious about basketball. And I knew, like, this is what I want to do. I want to dedicate myself to this sport and see how far I can go with it. And knowing I wanted to play at the next level for sure. But this was 13 years old, and I
Yeah.
kind of got inspired by a guy named Nick Stauskas. He's from Canada. He played for Michigan and went on to play in the NBA and overseas and such. And I was just watching his shooting videos one day, and I was like, okay, I want to kind of do what this guy's doing. And so, yeah, from when I was 13, and decided that I was just going to the gym every single day, working, working, working. And then before I'm in high school. And then during high school was kind of tough because I played my freshman sophomore year. And then my junior year, which is a pretty pivotal year, especially when like getting recruited and things like that, I had gotten injured. And so
Right.
I dislocated my ankle a week before our season was supposed to start. So I had to sit that whole season.
How was that for you at the time?
That was really hard because at that time, everything was basketball, basketball, basketball. It wasn't a day when I wasn't playing or thinking about basketball. So that was taken from me, and I had to kind of shift my mindset, saying, "Okay, now it's how can I show up for my team,
Mhm.
even though I'm not on the court."
Yeah.
And again, it was not easy, but the rehab, I did my rehab, physical therapy, and then I was able to play in my travel basketball season leading up to my senior year. But
Yeah.
so yeah, so all those things they led me to my school in North Dakota, and then from North Dakota to North Carolina.
So talk to me then a little bit about how that works. Your first college then, going there, basketball was a key thing for you. Academically, what was going through your mind? Where did did you have an alternative path that you were following?
So I kind of was always in the mindset of like being involved in business. But kind of diving deeper into that, I hadn't really given it much thought. It was always just like, you have to, in order to play basketball, you have to go to school and do school. So, and my dad has a successful business. So he always told me that business is a very versatile degree. And so that's the way I wanted to go. Um, but again, beyond that, I didn't really give it much thought as to I want to do this when I graduate. It was always basketball.
Yeah. And so, what was that shift? You were just getting into it, that athletic shift, and probably, I guess, social shift, moving from high school, going to a new place. As you look back at that time, were there any moments where you struggled in that early transition there?
Yeah, I would say my freshman year was tougher in terms of being away from family and friends. Basketball was going really well, and school was going really well. I mean, when I moved away, I didn't have family around. I didn't know anyone in that state. So for me, it was like, in a way, it helped me dial in on basketball in my studies and developing friendships with my teammates and other people at the school. But it was hard to be away from family, and it felt kind of like I was isolated up there, especially when it's winter 9 months out of the year. That didn't help much either.
But it's funny you said isolated all the way up there. You mean geographically you were isolated, or is it
Yes,
something
that's
else?
exactly what I mean. It felt like here's Chicago and here's all the hustle and bustle, and then I'm up in this state where no one could probably find me if they tried.
No, but well, luckily you survived, so that's a good thing. Um,
Yeah.
so, but here, you've moved to this environment, and I'm interested in that that moment. Then, like you say, your freshman year was really good. You're starting to, your basketball was good, school was good. What did you start to dream of? Where did you start to think this could get to?
Um, so for me, again the end goal was always trying to go play overseas, play professional ball, and so that was always on the forefront of my mind from before even freshman year. But when I started playing my freshman year of college basketball, it was more it was closer than it had been when I was younger. And so that was kind of the goal, but it was also like, don't look too far ahead because you still have this business to take care of before you try to make it over there. So that was the goal is getting overseas and playing overseas.
Yeah.
That's the goal that I always had.
And how did that change? So, I mean, given that was your goal, how did that make you focus on basketball and, well, actually, just being a student, being a young woman playing basketball, studying, away from home, socializing? How did you manage to prioritize what was most important?
I always made sure that I was able to get my workouts in. on top of our practices. So we would practice almost every day, but I would get my workouts in on my own. I would go an hour and a half before practice typically. And then I was trying to implement, being in the weight room regularly as well. I did not like the weight room as much as I liked being on the court. So sometimes that was tougher, but I knew that I needed it in order to help me. But for me, I really prioritized basketball and my studies because I had to finish my studies in order to be able to compete on the court. And socially, I believe I did a good job at balancing all of that. I wasn't always going out and, partying and things like that, but I was still friends with a lot of people who did, and, good for them. But it just wasn't really on my mind at the time. It's just not was really in the cards for me. And I felt that, I can't do that. I'm focused. I'm laser focused. But looking back on it, there's nothing wrong with a little balance. And I think sometimes maybe I lacked that sometimes because I was so fixated on the goal.
Yeah, so you had that fixation, you had that clear goal on what you wanted to achieve. At the time, did you feel like there was like you were making sacrifices?
I think one of the biggest sacrifices was being away from home, like playing college basketball, because this seemed like the best decision for me to play at this school at this time, but being so far away from family to where I only got to see them around Christmas time or so, that was a sacrifice in itself. And in the ways of missing out on those, social gathering things, I don't really think I missed out on much because it just wasn't something that I was like sad about missing.
Yeah, I know what you mean, and I asked the question in a full genuine way, because often at the moment as we're going through it, we don't recognize it being a sacrifice. We feel, well, this is what I need to do. You mentioned doing your extra sessions, getting into the weight room, even though you didn't like going there, but you put the extra reps in because you had that goal in mind. And
right.
So it's not necessarily a sacrifice, it's a prioritization.
That's it. Prioritization. And sometimes I think when you're younger and just starting out in college, it's tough because you can be pulled in all these different directions. Not to say again that going out and having some fun, that's bad. That's a good thing. But it's also important to not get too tied down and to lose the way that you were going, lose the path. Mm-hmm. And so I think I always had that on my mind to where I was like, I don't even want to chance it because I don't want to get derailed from what I'm trying to do.
What do you mean you don't want to chance it?
Like I don't want to, if I want to really liking that, that time going out, I don't want that to now be my priority. And then basketball drops, which I don't ever think it would have happened. But I always had that in my brain of like, if I'm doing this, then I'm not getting enough rest, or I'm not preparing for my next training session. If I'm going out and doing this, then basketball will suffer.
And that's, you talk about that fixation, that goal, orientation to achieve it. And you I guess, as you look back, because, as you said earlier, that was the purpose. That's why you were there. That's why you moved away from home, was to work towards achieving that dream, and you wanted to give it your all. How did that path continue? What was that college experience like for you? You said, a couple of years there and moving on. What was that shift?
Yeah. So when I first got to North Dakota, it was like, oh, this is a new place and I'm so far away from family. Like once I'm done here, like I can't wait to leave and go somewhere warmer and go somewhere else. But actually, as my time was winding down at Lake Region, it was getting tougher and tougher thinking about that last day, mainly because of the relationships I had built and the friendships I had built. And it really hit me the day that I had to leave. It was like, I don't want to leave these people and this place. And I had formed all these great relationships. I'm like, I won't find that somewhere else. no way.
Mhm.
And then coming to Barton,
Yeah.
I wound up having that, and I would say even more, which is such a blessing within itself.
And so, was it always the plan to make it to somewhere like Barton?
So when I was at the junior college, knowing that that's only lasts for 2 years, of course it was in my brain of I want like to move on to another school, a 4 year, and ideally a Division 1 or Division 2 school, a higher level school. And so I had really reached out to a bunch of different schools around the country, um, kind of like outside of the north part that I was in, the northern Midwest part, you could say, because I was not looking for as much of a harsh climate.
I was going to say, basically, you wanted a good school with a good climate.
Correct. Yes.
So that's
So
good. Yeah, that's good. I'm with you.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And so I was willing to go anywhere really within the U.S. that even places that I hadn't been, North Carolina, for example. So I had reached out to a bunch of coaches, and then my coach at Barton, she had reached back out to me, and this was a week or two before I graduated from the school in North Dakota. So time was kind of ticking, and I was getting a little antsy. But long story short, I wound up committing
Yeah.
without even seeing the campus or anything
Okay.
like that.
And so, what was the first year like? What was it like for you coming from then junior college, coming now to Barton with continuing with this dream of turning pro, getting over WNBA, going overseas. What was that? What was your initial period like?
It was a transition for sure because when you're on campus, you don't really know a whole lot of people, but luckily that's where your team can kind of come in, come into play because I was able to get introduced to some teammates over the summer when I had finally made that visit. So when I was on campus, it wasn't like I didn't know anyone, but I knew a couple friendly faces. But it was still new. It's a new environment, and sometimes that can be intimidating. But I was more excited, and it was my junior year. So again, I'd been to college before. I was eager to get to work and just get going.
Yeah, and so it's interesting, isn't it? In order for you to pursue that journey, you kind of went to junior college knowing it would end in 2 years, knowing you would all things being well, move on again, and that shifting of friendships, that social circle and expectations. Um, so like you say, it makes it a bit easier then when you have that expectation that, hey, I know I'm going to move. It's going to end at some point. I'm going to go into that next spot. So with that shift then into Barton, having that sort of, okay, you knew you were going to go, you knew you're going to be making new friends, and it sounds like relationships, continue to build in that way. What did anything change in your focus, in your prioritization, perhaps, or was it like same again? Let's keep going.
It was basically the same. I came in with that same mindset as I had at my previous school, and then it made me even hungrier because this is the next level. And my junior year, we did a really really good job. We had a great season. We went 28-2. So being able to play under 16 years in their leadership, and competitiveness, that was great. I was grateful to be a part of that. But I don't think my mindset shifted at all.
Great. So for you then, now playing at that next level up, gradually more responsibility, I guess, coming given your experience as a player. Where How did that continue? Where as you were starting to move through the seasons, how did it go for you?
So it was a little bit of like a transition for me in terms of basketball because I went from playing a fair amount at my junior college, and then when I got to Barton, like I said, my junior year, I was playing behind these seniors, and so I wasn't getting as much time as I'd been used to, and
Yeah.
and that was tough. That was tough because it's like I was still showing up every day, getting my workouts in, and before practice and things like that, and knowing what I was capable of, but it just, I guess, wasn't in the cards for the coaching staff to get me some more minutes. So
Yeah.
that was a tough thing.
How did you deal with that?
I mean, I was frustrated, but at the same time, we were winning. And sometimes when you're winning, it kind of helps things. So sometimes I was like, okay, well, they've got to figure it out. We're winning. So it's like, if it's not broken, why would you fix it? I feel like is where the mindset that they were coming from. And I'm the new kid on the block. So I got that, but it was still tough because I was like, oh, a year ago, I'm playing majority of the minutes, and I'm a big offensive player for our team, and now this year, it wasn't as much. I mean, I was averaging maybe like 9 or 10 minutes a game, so it was a big change for me.
Yes. Yeah. And so you were frustrated, but you were winning. When you look back, how well did you cope with moving from being that main player to then, like you say, getting 9, 10 minutes a game?
Um, I'd like to say that I coped well, but I think in the moment it was just majority frustration because all of my career basically I had worked and earned the things that I had gotten, whether that's a spot on the team, um, basketball accolades, whatever that is I put in the work for it. I didn't just cruise my way through. And so that didn't change here. I was still putting in the work. And so I was expecting to see better results, and not seeing that was the most frustrating thing for sure.
And so what happened next?
So after our season ended, because we went 28-2, we won a conference championship. I mean, it was
It's
great.
awesome,
And so
right?
that,
That's awesome to be part of, like you said, to be part of that team. Yeah.
yes, I think to like looking at it from like climbing wise, like, okay, you wanted to play in college, so you went to your JUCO. You were successful at your JUCO, so you moved on to this school. And your first year here, you win a conference championship. Like, boom, like end the story there. Like that's a great way to end a story, right? But so I was just even hungrier once season ended and the school year ended. Then that summer, I went home to Chicago and was like, back to the drawing board. Like, let's go and like put in the work. I had my end of season meetings with my coaches at the end of my junior year, and so they told me what I needed to work on, and that's what I went and did. And so that summer was like, okay, coming back my senior year, like this is my team,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna lead them. And so senior year comes around, and it was not at all how I wanted it to go. It was a rebuilding year for sure, because we had lost the 16 years, but we just couldn't get it right. And it was frustrating for me more than my junior year because I was still not seeing those results that I
So
had.
go on, talk about the results you wanted to see. You're putting in that effort, you're doing your training, you're showing up. What
Yeah.
results did you want to see or expect to see?
Playing a majority of our games, rather than just averaging 11, 12 minutes a game, which is what I was averaging my senior year. It was like, I'm just putting all this work and I'm not seeing it pay off this year. Especially when I thought like, this is my year. It's my senior year. This is my team. So that was a hard pill to swallow for sure. I mean, there's only so much you can do when you're not the one running the team. So again, it was just coaches had a different plan, but at the end of the day, we wound up doing not so great my senior year.
So the elements you could control, I often think about it this way, and you just reminded me of that. The elements you can control was showing up, was putting the effort, giving your all.
Mm-hmm.
But like you say, you don't control the selection. You don't control, in that way, the minutes or the plan that goes in place, which then suggests the amount of minutes a player like yourself is going to be able to get. So how did you, I guess looking back, because that's a lot of frustration, that's a lot of effort that you put in. How did you manage, or to what extent did you manage yourself between what you could control and what you couldn't control, and how you sort of express that?
Yeah, so I thought about it a lot, and it never crossed my mind to just stop showing up and just stop, because I think that's an easy thing to do, right? Like when those cards sometimes can be stacked against you, then it's easy to be like, all right, I'm just gonna give this a rest. It's probably just not gonna happen and things like that. And I didn't do that, not at all. I continue to push through and continue to work on my game, just staying ready, trying to stay as ready as I could for when my name was called. And then there were games where my name was called and I did perform well. And it's like, that feels so good, but like, why couldn't that be every game? you know?
Yeah.
But looking back on it, I think it helped me, go through some adversity, battle through that. That really tests your character. It really does. And it really tested my character. And there were some days I was upset. I was mad. And, I wish I could have handled that better, but that's just how it was.
How did going through that change your perspective on what you wanted to achieve and where you wanted to get to?
It made me just be like, okay, I want this season to end so I can just focus on my next chapter, which is trying to play overseas. So again, that never derailed me from what I was trying to do. I just said, this is going to go away and this is going to be done. The season's going to be done. And then I'm going to graduate and move on, and I'll be overseas and that'll be that. And so from when the season ended, I did a showcase, in Texas in March, that March before I graduated. And so that was a really great time. I met a lot of great players from different schools and competed. And that's what felt like, okay, this is where I need to be. This is exactly how this is supposed to be going. And so that was so exciting. And then I came back to Barton because, I was finishing my degree and things like that. And kind of already had my sights on like, okay, what's the next showcase? So I was at that point, and it was frustrating because that season, the senior season, kind of like made me even just more excited to like get out and just be done.
To move on. Yeah,
right. But the other part in that is the relationships and friendships that I had developed at Barton. Like I said earlier, I thought I wasn't going to find that again. At like I had at Lake Region, and I did that, and I think more with those relationships, and that was the hard thing that I was like, okay, but when I leave here, like that's those people, I'm gonna be away from them, and I'm not gonna see them as much, and so that was a hard thing to be in the middle of.
Yeah, to try and navigate that and think, how do you once again have to rebuild that social network, that support structure that got you through, I guess, a challenging season from a basketball perspective, right? Or challenging year from a basketball perspective. Yes. So this dream continues. Anything academic, pushed to the side. Overseas, let's make this happen. What came next? How did you go through to sort of put the steps in place to even have an opportunity to move overseas?
Mm-hmm. So I had a friend that I trained with back home. And so she wound up playing in Australia for maybe 3 or 4 seasons, I believe. And so I had reached out to her, just using my contacts and my network, and just voicing to her, hey, like, do you recommend any agents? Because out there you got to be careful. Some agents, they just want your money, and they're actually not going to get you anywhere, or you never know. You got all different types. So I thought with reaching out to her, she'd be able to recommend someone to me. And so she wound up recommending an agent to me. And I was really grateful for that, because I trusted her and stuff like that. So then I think I got in touch with that agent May sometime. So I graduated in mid-May, and then I got in touch with him. And so
we're mid-May, 23?
Yeah, 2023. Yeah. So then communicating with the agent, I think about a week and a half, 2 weeks after I'd been in communication with him, and I had been sending him film of me and my stats and things like that for my college career. Kind of gave him the rundown of my career. And so he had called me, and he'd said about a week and a half, 2 weeks after I signed with him, he was like, I got 2 questions for you. Do you have your passport, and are you ready to go? And I said, I was just like speechless. I was sitting at my kitchen table back home, and I was like, okay. I was like, yes. What are we doing? Where are we going? And he had talked to me about an opportunity to play in Ireland. And so he said that the team was interested in me, and basically, do I want to play for them? And so really without question, I said yes, of course. And so the agent was kind of the between myself and the team. And so after a little bit, it was like I wasn't hearing from him, though, like about this, because he said I was going to leave within like the next month. And so knowing that, I was, still going to the gym every day and prepping and, getting in pickup games and things like that. So that then it wound up not happening. And he claims that, the team, they ghosted him or whatever, or however he wanted to phrase that. And that there would be other opportunities. So that was a tough pill to swallow, because it's like, oh, you got my hopes up. Like, I was ready to go. Like, this is my future. Let's go. So that not happening was tough. And at some days it got hard to even like go to the gym, because it was like, man, it was like, I'm working, but what's the end goal? Like, it's hard sometimes to continue to be consistent when there's not that end goal and you don't have that.
Yeah.
Tangible.
Well, you were putting in the effort, you were showing up, doing extra, and in this, and taking yourself to the gym, because that goal, well, it was actually tangible. It was right. It was there. You had this call. You're like, this is going to happen. But it sounds like as that started to then get pushed further and further away, just from a motivation perspective, it became hard for you to still, show up for yourself.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. It was hard.
What did that feel like then? And, what did it feel like?
Well, I feel like it wasn't so much that I was questioning things. It was just like, it was just sheer frustration, because it's like, man, like my journey, it has been very rewarding, but man, it's been tough. My whole journey, it hasn't been easy, and there's been things that I've had to overcome before. And so I would just try to keep that mindset to try to overcome this obstacle.
And how was then that your communication with, I guess with people around you? Like, were they preparing for you to, your parents must have been thinking, okay, so you're leaving in a month?
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. My parents are, the most supportive people in my life. And so they've sacrificed a lot for me to be able to chase my dreams and be able to play basketball and play in college and things like that. And so they were just so excited for me, for whatever was next for me. If I was leaving in a week, they'd be like, all right, we're in this with you. If I was
Yeah.
leaving in a month or 2 months, we're in this with you. So no matter what it was, they were going to be behind me.
Yeah.
And I think part of that was like hard to tell them, like, oh, this opportunity, which they were very excited for me too, is no longer on the table, is
Yeah.
what I'm hearing. And so for that, it's like I felt like, am I letting them down? That was kind of in my head, which of course not for a second. Like, they love me regardless, but that was kind of a tough thing to be able to talk to them about.
Yeah. I mean, it is tough. Like you say, they put a lot in. I can understand why you would feel that way. For them, how did it unravel then? When how did it continue to, for you? Because this is still a dream, and whilst it's been pulled away from you, what came next for you?
So yeah, so that was about June of 2023, and then just continued to communicate with the agent, and we had frequent communication in July as well. And I was still just waiting for a call or something like that. I was, always have my phone with me, and I was like, all right, could today be the day that this happens finally? And so July, August, really not much was happening. And so I wound up going on some trips with my mom. She's a flight attendant. And so I thought, hey, might as well go see the world a little bit. So wound up doing that and a little bit of traveling. And then September, I was actually visiting at Barton, and I had received a text from my agent saying that there was an opportunity in Portugal. And he said, would you be able to leave in 1 week though? 1 week. And so while that's a lot to read just from a text, again, of course I said yes, because through that time, June, July, August, I was still prepping as if I was leaving the next day,
Yeah.
and so I was, again, some days were harder than others, but I still had that goal. And so he had reached out to me, and then we had a conversation about it. And he said, well, I'll keep you updated, but like, I want to let you know, like, do you want this job? Do you want this? And I said, yes, like, no question. And then a week rolls around, and I hadn't heard anything since that first day. I hadn't heard anything from my agent. And so once again, it was kind of the same thing as with Ireland. It was like, no, I haven't heard from them, and I've reached out to them multiple times. And so whether that's true or not, I'd hope that he was telling the truth, but it was just so frustrating that this happened the second time. It's just like, let me go over there and prove myself.
Yeah. When you, I guess, in talking to others about this, to what extent is that typical? Is that the type of thing that agents might often do, or at least those types of stories, happen? Because it just seems really harsh, right?
Yeah, I think so. And I also think it's like, okay, if it's not set in stone, then probably don't like tell, I don't know, or be upfront and say, this isn't set in stone yet, but this is what this team is saying, because how he was coming off was, they want you. They
Yeah.
like, you got to tell me yes, and then I'll tell them, and then that'll be it.
So how did that interaction, certainly this last one, how did that change what you wanted to get out of basketball?
Well, seeing that it was September, I was a bit drained. That was just hard to not only, I graduated college, and I thought I'd be gone within a month of graduating, because that's just what was in my mind. And so now it's September, and I'm still here, and I was drained. I was very drained, especially with like telling my friends and family too. Like when you tell them, and then sometimes those things don't happen. Yeah, it's kind of like gut wrenching a little bit. And so I wound up taking a step back from basketball, and figuring out, like, what's my identity beyond this game? Because I know I do have one, and so much of my life has been
How did you know
dedicated to
that,
that.
Kayla? How did you know you had an identity beyond the game?
Well, I feel that I always knew I had that, but my mind was so fixated on basketball for all these years that I couldn't really give it much thought, because I was, had my sport right in front of me. And so in this moment in September, it was like, is it still in front of me, or is this a sign to, pursue other things in my life and, you know, figure out what my purpose. And so that was hard though. That's a period of like floating, that I guess I
Yeah.
would call it, is you're graduated from
Float.
school and
Yeah.
yeah.
Go on, tell me. That's
Yeah.
interesting description. You're in this period of floating.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's like when you're in school and playing your sport, you have that like safety thing. And you're like, this is my identity. This is me. But then once you graduate, and even if you're not planning on playing your sport at the next, at the pro level, and you just graduate and you're trying to figure out your next move, that's hard. That's a tough place to be, that time, that in between time. And that's kind of what I mean by floating, is like you haven't grabbed onto something else after you left this. Some people will have jobs lined up, and that's great, for after they graduate, but some won't. And so in September, this was this period of like, okay, what actually am I doing next if I'm not going to be playing basketball overseas in this moment? And what came to me was financial stability.
Yeah.
I was like, do I want to continue to chase this goal, but maybe not be financially stable? And that was just, I mean, you could live at home and that's great, but it's like, or do I want to get a jump start on my career and establish myself and be able to build that resume for something that could hold a little more weight in the future for me? That was the question I was kind of trying to figure out in September.
How did you figure it out?
So I had mentioned that I was coming and visiting Barton a couple of times, after I had graduated. So I did that in September and October and November. I was actually able to come visit like once a month, basically. And I'm so grateful for that, to be able to visit my friends. And it's basically like I never left. And I heard that around campus a lot too.
So why were you coming back every month?
Because those friendships and those relationships that I had built, that was really hard to be so far away from. And so I felt so detached when I was like back home. I had good friends back home, of course, but these are your teammates, your people that you see in the cafeteria, that you go to class with, and that you just build these relationships with for, it was 2 years, 1 to 2 years, and that's just hard to leave, especially when like they're really good people and they have good intentions for you. Like that's something why would you want to leave that environment?
So that's great. So you managed to, I guess, through your social network, that kept you coming back into, as you say, your alma mater, to come back and join in time at Barton. So then at what point did an opportunity start to appear for you to sort of move towards what you're doing now?
Yeah. Well, I had, been visiting and I was talking to one of my friends who was working there at the time, working at Barton. And, she had suggested, hey, like, maybe you should look into this role. And in the athletic department, she said, I think you do a really, really good job in it. And I said, oh, wow. So I wound up like reaching out to our boss and just saying, hey, like, my name is, Kayla, and, you don't know me, because at the time he didn't our athletic director didn't. It was a different athletic director that
Yeah,
I
the
like went to
switch.
school and
Yeah.
played under, and then we had that transition when I graduated, and so just I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna send an email saying, hey, my name is Kayla. Congratulations on the position, but yeah, I'd be interested in in coming back and working here. Kind of listing the reasons to why I'd want to come back here.
What were those
And
reasons, Kayla? What did
oh
you
yeah,
write down? Like, was it just, hey, I used to play here. Can I get a job?
no, it wasn't like that. It was more so I love the opportunity to give back. I love the opportunity to give back to what this school has given me. This school has given me so much, an education, a degree, but these relationships that I believe will last a lifetime. And I've been influenced by leaders on the campus at Barton in great ways, and now I'd like to be one of those people. I'd like to be one of those people to again influence these kids, these 18 to 22-year-olds who, at this point in their life, like they need this guidance. They need people who want the best for them and will lead them in the right direction. And I said, that this is why I'm here. This is my purpose. And
Yeah.
and so that's why I voiced to him was the opportunity to do that.
Yeah. Well, so moving in and getting the role, that shift from player to administrator, within that season, I guess, or that gap of one season, what was the biggest challenge for you in shifting that perspective?
I mean, there were so many times when like I'm in my role working and I'm like, man, they just get to play. Like they're just playing. I want to jump in. I want to play. like, so that was tough to be like, okay, you're an administrator and this is your role now. And being an admin, you're overseeing all the teams. You're not just overseeing one, the basketball team. You're overseeing all of them, which again is a part I really enjoy about the job because
Yeah.
I'm able to be involved in these people's lives and these people's lives. And so part of that was like, okay. And also because it was my alma mater, it's like, you're not a student anymore, right?
Yeah.
You are on the other side. Even though you just graduated, you're on the other side.
Well, that's right. Perhaps a silly question. Did sort of new doors suddenly appear, like when you're walking on campus? Like, oh, I never knew that place was there. Wow.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Like the building that I work in now, I couldn't tell you the amount of times that I had been in there. Maybe one, maybe two times.
Mm-hmm.
And now
Yes.
I work there and I go in there every day. But when I was a student, it didn't really mean much to me at all.
Yes. Well, and has your view of being a student athlete, or to what extent has been your current role, how has that changed your view on what it means to be a student athlete?
For me, what it means to be a student athlete is you're a good player. Obviously, you got to this point in your life, not being just okay. You're a good player, and you've taken your studies seriously, or hopefully, to get to this point. But I'd hope that student athletes see themselves as more as just their sport. I think it's so easy to get wrapped up in it, though. I mean, I'm sure you've heard it so many times. Like our identity, we put so much in our sport, but it's like you also need to look at what's around you. Like for me, these relationships that I built, they helped me get to where I am today. Like being who I am and my personality helped get me there. Basketball is a great thing, but did it help me get to where I am? Yes, it did. But again, you want to look beyond your sport as well and know that you're more than just the player.
Yeah.
You're a person too.
So, well, I guess why did you get the job? Why you? How do you think? What made you, do you think, the best candidate for the role? And I suppose I'm asking that in some respects because I'm like, what did you have to give up being a basketball player in order to be successful as the sort of athlete advisor?
Yeah. So for me, I think I just let my passion speak for me. You know, in my interview process, it wasn't like I had to really think about what I was saying. I was just so passionate about this is a great opportunity and I really want it. And I think when your passion sometimes comes out and speaks for you,
Yeah.
then things will just flow rather than, you know, if you're someone who doesn't really want the job, you know, that may show more, because you may, I don't know, you may have to think about the questions more, things like that. But I just distinctly remember in my interview, all the questions were easy for me because I was like, this is just a great opportunity. Like, I'm
Yeah.
grateful to be in this position. And so, yeah, I kind of just let that, you know, take the lead in that interview process
Yeah.
for sure.
And so now, in order to be successful, what have you had to leave behind?
Um, for me, I mean, you know, it's not being able to play every day and not being able to have basketball at the forefront, because you know this is the career that I've chosen, and again I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for the career that I have, and but I've had to, yeah, I've had to put the basketball to the side. Not saying that I don't play pickup here and there. I'll play pickup here and there.
Well,
Um,
I
but
guess that it's, what is it? Okay, you could shoot. You said, you were forward, big forward. Um,
mhm,
what were the skills that made you a basketballer? What were the skills that got you to junior college, that got you to Barton,
yeah.
that got you playing, that got you on the radar to be moving overseas? What were those, I guess, underlying skills that supported you to do that?
I mean, in terms of basketball, shooting was my main strength. So being able
Yeah,
to shoot the ball,
yeah,
that was why a lot of people had like noticed me, no matter throughout my career.
yeah,
But also, you know, just the dedication to the sport, the unwavering dedication. I mean, that that never that never shifted. If anything, it only amped up, you know, as I kept going in the
yes,
sport.
yeah.
And so those are the things that helped get me to those next levels. Yeah.
Throughout our conversations, what's really become apparent to me is that you your goal, you have this goal, you have this orientation towards achieving that goal. You put a plan in place and you work hard. You have this work ethic where you show up early, you put in the reps before practice, after practice, you go and do weights by yourself when you don't like it.
Yeah.
You did the training to keep you fit, ready to go overseas. And so to me, what that also brings forward is, like you say, that fixation, that passion, that dedication, that work ethic to get something done. And the way you've just described your interview was, you basically just were able to just say, yeah, well, I'm really passionate about this and I'm going to work really hard. And, that's what you've basically described, which I guess got you to where it got you to where you are in basketball, but it's also it's got you to where you are now and probably help you to move to where's next, because those traits are not in everybody, right? And especially when you get off the court, perhaps you already see it already, is that others around you, it's like, no, we need to get in there. We need to do this work. We can't go until it's done, right?
Right, right. Yeah, again, you bring up a great point. I was thinking about this the other day actually, was, you know, basketball has taught me like this mindset. And I think really the first time that I really implemented this mindset was, you know, starting at a young age, was if you want something, you got to work for it and you got to be dedicated and trust the process. And so I bring that over from basketball to here into the real world, and being able to again take that work ethic with me and take that positive mindset. Like when you're with your team on the court and things aren't always going great, you still have to stay positive and you say, hey guys, we got this. You rally your team. And that's the same here in the workplace is you have to be able to get through tough days and tough times and you know be able to reap those benefits because you will. There's always a light at the end of whatever tunnel that is. So I think that everyone can take that with them, especially as being a student athlete. You can take those lessons and take those into the real world.
So today, I ask you, what does success look like for you in this career as you unleash your second wind and move on? How do you describe success now?
Success now is seeing others around me succeed. And so what that kind of means is, whether that's a student athlete that I've, been in contact with and been, helping in whatever way, or whether that's a coworker, helping them get through something, seeing those people succeed and those people be motivated to be able to do things that maybe they didn't think they could do. That's success for me, is seeing others be successful in their lives.
And so now, sort of building from that, when you look at student athletes coming through who have aspirations to do all sorts of wonderful things,
yeah.
As they listen to this, as they watch this, what advice would you give to them?
I'd just say find your purpose, and sometimes that can be hard, but you can do it in a way where just communicating and just interacting with people on a daily basis, you're able to kind of find yourself, and you can find yourself when you're going through hard times, you can find yourself through good times. But when you realize, okay, this is why I'm here, in this life, and I have a strong faith, and so I believe that God has put me here to help others. And so when you know what your purpose is, it kind of makes just like your journey that much clearer. And it's like the center of why you do things, you do the things you do. So even if you don't know your purpose, just keep showing up every day. There's going to be good days, there's going to be bad days, but if you just stay the course and surround yourself with good people, things will work out for you.
Okay. Kayla, listen, I've enjoyed our conversation. It's been great learning a little bit more about you and your journey, also your perspective on what's happened, but I love your perspective on what's to come as well. I think that's absolutely great. So listen, thanks for coming on and sharing your story.
Well, thank you, Ryan. Thanks for giving me this opportunity to share my story and giving me this platform. It's been great having this conversation with you and, diving deeper into all these different topics. So thank you.
Absolute pleasure.